Western Cape Premier Helen Zille's spokesperson. A very good evening to you and thank you for joining us. What's your reaction to what happened today?
Good evening, Vapakshini, and to your viewers. Well, we are certainly very shocked at the turn of events that the demonstration this afternoon took in terms of the looting and the vandalism and the theft from street side vendors as well as small business owners. We know a couple of things about the background to today's demonstration, which actually turned into a riot. Firstly, Loyiso Nkosha, an ANC councillor in Cape Town, was certainly the lead organizer of today's demonstration. We also know that he addressed public meetings in Nyanga over the past weekend, where he said to residents that they must loot the CBD and that they must not fear to disrupt public order in that way because the police will never be able to arrest them all. So clearly, at least on his part, there was always an intention to wreak havoc and to unleash the kind of disruption we saw today. And thirdly, we know that Loyiso Nkosha, along with other ANC Youth League leaders and activists, have always declared what they call an ungovernability campaign against the City of Cape Town and the Western Cape government. So when you tie all of these elements together, there's a very clear thread of an intention to wreak havoc, to cause disorder, and to run what they call their ungovernability campaign.
There seems to be somewhat of a blame game going on here. You have the DA blaming the ANC. The ANC in turn is then blaming the EFF. The ANC is saying that they don't know who's behind this and it's certainly not them. Do you as the DA have any proof of his involvement?
Of Loyiso Nkosha, absolutely. Yes. He was there at the front with a loud hailer, cheering on, leading songs, and there is print media coverage of his meetings in Nyanga, where he is quoted as calling on people to loot the CBD and telling them not to fear, that there will be consequences. But of course, there will be consequences because at least on two fronts. Firstly, those calls he made in those public meetings are incitement to commit crime, and that in itself is something that can be followed up legally. Secondly, we have the Constitutional Court ruling from last year, where the highest court in the land has confirmed that the organizers of any march or public demonstration are liable for the costs of damage that happens during a march or a demonstration that they organize. So at least on those two fronts, we certainly will ensure that there are consequences for today's incidents by the organizers, in particular Loyiso Nkosha, who's got a long and unsavory history of being behind these kind of disruptions in Cape Town.
Are you going to be calling for him to be expelled?
Yes, there certainly has been a call that went out. Dr. Ivan Meyer, who is the provincial DA leader in the Western Cape, as well as the MEC for Sport and Cultural Affairs, has responded and made the call that the ANC must, at the very most, fire Mr. Nkosha because he is a public rep of the ANC as a councillor, and he certainly must face all the consequences that are due flowing from today's events.
So it started off as a march that turned violent after a while. Those initial demands made by the protesters, what were they?
Well, this is now part of the problem, Vapakshini. As mentioned in the earlier sound clip, this is a follow-up demonstration to one earlier on this month. And at that one, the MEC for Human Settlements was on hand to receive the memorandum because their grievances around land and housing relate to his portfolio. And he asked and they undertook to provide a detailed and revised memo with specific issues that his department could then follow up on. This has not happened. And they claim that the reasons for today's march was a lack of response, but they haven't provided anything to respond to. So for now, we're really just seeing an instance of pure political grandstanding that unfortunately is not helpful to addressing whatever grievances and concerns there are, which the Western Cape government does want to do.
I know earlier on there were calls by the protesters that Helen Zille should come out and address them. Will that happen at any stage? And what's the way forward here?
For Vapakshini, the way forward is that communities who wish to raise concerns and air grievances will always have an open door to the provincial government. What will not happen, because we cannot encourage any sense of impunity, what will not happen is that, especially thugs and ringleaders of the type of Loyiso Nkosha will not be engaged if they show very clearly that they are not acting in good faith, that they are not willing to engage in a way that will lead to a solution. All it takes is meaningful interaction and goodwill on both parties. Without that, we simply can't get anywhere useful.
Thank you very much for your time. That was Zakhele Mbhele's spokesperson, Zakhele Mbhele, talking to us about the protest action that took place in Cape Town earlier today.